The transatlantic slave trade stands as one of the darkest chapters in human history, marked by unimaginable suffering and the brutal exploitation of millions of African people. This tragic period had far-reaching consequences for African societies, the Middle Passage, and the development of the Americas. For centuries, European powers and their colonies engaged in the systematic capture and sale of African individuals as slaves. African societies were profoundly impacted by this trade, as entire communities were disrupted and families torn apart. The loss of able-bodied men and women devastated local economies, disrupted cultural practices, and created lasting scars that continue to affect African societies today. The Middle Passage was a horrifying journey endured by enslaved Africans as they were transported across the Atlantic Ocean. It was a treacherous voyage marked by overcrowded and unsanitary conditions, where individuals were treated as mere cargo. Many slaves suffered from malnutrition, disease, and extreme physical and psychological abuse. Countless lives were lost during this harrowing journey, as ships were plagued by disease outbreaks, brutal punishments, and even deliberate acts of violence. Despite the unimaginable hardships they endured, enslaved individuals made significant contributions to the development of the Americas. Forced to labor on plantations, mines, and in households, their knowledge, skills, and resilience played a vital role in shaping the economies of the New World. From agriculture to architecture, music to cuisine, African cultural influences permeated the fabric of societies in the Americas, leaving an indelible mark that endures to this day. It is essential to confront the painful history of the transatlantic slave trade, acknowledging the profound human suffering it inflicted and the enduring legacy it left behind. By understanding and learning from this history, we can strive for a more just and inclusive world, free from the scars of slavery. It is crucial to honor the resilience, strength, and contributions of enslaved individuals while actively working towards dismantling the ongoing systems of racial inequality and discrimination that continue to affect societies worldwide. The civil rights movement in the United States stands as a defining chapter in the nation's history, marked by the tireless efforts of individuals and communities to fight against racial segregation, discrimination, and systemic inequality. Key figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X played significant roles in shaping the movement and inspiring millions across the country. Martin Luther King Jr., a Baptist minister and civil rights activist, emerged as one of the most prominent leaders of the movement. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance and his powerful speeches, such as the iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, galvanized the nation and called for racial justice and equality. King's leadership and moral courage left an indelible impact on the movement and helped to shift public opinion. Rosa Parks, often called the "mother of the civil rights movement," became a symbol of resistance when she refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Her act of defiance sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, a pivotal event that lasted for over a year and led to a Supreme Court ruling declaring racial segregation on public buses unconstitutional. Malcolm X, an influential figure in the movement, advocated for black empowerment, self-defense, and racial pride. His powerful speeches and writings challenged the nonviolent approach of other civil rights leaders and called for a more radical approach to achieving equality. Malcolm X's ideas continue to shape discussions on racial identity, self-determination, and social justice. The broader impact of the civil rights movement was profound, leading to significant legislative victories and societal change. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 were landmark pieces of legislation that outlawed racial segregation, protected voting rights, and provided legal tools to combat discrimination. These acts laid the foundation for dismantling discriminatory practices and advancing civil rights for African Americans and other marginalized groups. The movement also sparked broader conversations about social justice and human rights, inspiring subsequent generations to continue the fight for equality. The civil rights movement became a catalyst for change in other areas, such as women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and disability rights, as activists drew inspiration from the strategies and successes of the movement. While significant progress has been made, the struggle for civil rights and equality continues. The legacy of the civil rights movement serves as a reminder of the power of collective action, the importance of resilience in the face of adversity, and the ongoing need to address systemic racism and discrimination in all its forms. By studying the history of the civil rights movement and honoring the contributions of its key figures, we gain a deeper understanding of the challenges faced, the victories achieved, and the work that remains. The movement's legacy serves as a call to action for each generation to continue the fight for a more just and equitable society.